Hey, how about it, race fans? Richard Allen of motorsportsreport.net coming at you. As you can see, I'm coming at you from the back porch today. I normally do these things inside my classroom at Seymour High School, but obviously we're not in school today. Not only is it snowing, of course, it's Martin Luther King Day, so we're out of school anyway, but thought we'd do one of these from the back porch and let you see the weather. It's here in Tennessee. We've got a little snow on the ground, and right now we got sort of a rain, sleet, snow mix falling all around us. So an interesting day. A good day just to stay inside and keep warm on the couch, I think, and that's probably what's going to be happening. But even with all this weather out here, what a world we live in. We just come off of a week where we had just wall-to-wall racing throughout the days and nights. We had the Chili Bowl Nationals playing out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Flow Racing, and Flow also was presenting the Wild West Shootout out in New Mexico. We got a lot of racing in there, so even in the bad weather, you can stay at home and watch racing, or in some cases, you can actually go to the track and see races. And we've got more racing now. That was just the kickoff. We got the World of Outlaws Case Construction Late Model Series will be kicking off their season here very soon down at Volusia. The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series will be at Golden Isle Speedway in Georgia before long as well. So it's racing season now. But what I was going to talk about, last year we had two drivers, Ricky Thornton Jr. and Bobby Pierce, who had tremendous seasons and won a bunch of races, won the big races, won a lot of money. And you wonder, even we don't really have much of an off season, but you wonder if during that off season anything's going to change. Well, based on what we saw at Vado, New Mexico in the Wild West Shootout, I don't think very much is going to change. It looks like Bobby Pierce, out of 6 races, Bobby Pierce won 4 of them, and he had last night's race. He basically had that thing in the bag till a flat tire got him there at the very end. But I don't, last year it was on out into June before he really started piling up the wins. I mean, he won occasionally leading up to June, but then all of a sudden, once June came, he just took off. Well, he's picking up right where he left off right now, and if he starts off the season this good, there's no telling how good he could be all throughout the year. I know a lot of detractors would want to say, well, Thornton wasn't there, Jonathan Davenport wasn't there, Brandon Shepard only kind of showed up about halfway through. It took Kyle Larson a little while to kind of get his sea legs under him, so to speak, because he hadn't been in a late model for several months prior to this past week. But still, nonetheless, is still a competitive enough field that Pierce looked amazing. And one thing, and I'm going to write something about this on motorsportsreport.net coming up pretty soon. But one thing that was real key to his success, he entered into 6 heat races during the Wild West Shootout, and he won all 6 of the ones he was entered in. So he was starting, they did that where they had 4 heat races, and the 4 heat race winners would go into a redraw to determine where they'd start the feature. He was in that redraw every night of the feature. So that's no secret. That's been true in late model racing for a while now. That if you want to finish up front, you got to start up front, and he was doing that. So you got to be good in qualifying. You got to be good. You got to be good in the heat races so that you have a chance to be good in the feature. And he was giving himself that opportunity. As far as Larson is concerned, that's where Larson kind of struggled, and he said that in Victory Lane last night, that he wasn't as good early in the night as he needed to be. He was off on qualifying, off on heat races, and that buried him back in the field. Pretty much every feature he was in, except one where he had some trouble, but every feature that he was in, he moved forward during the night, and you wondered what would happen when he finally put the qualifying and heat races together, which he did last night. Qualified very well. He won his heat race. Didn't get the best draw. He started in the second row. He and Pierce both started in the second row last night, and Larson was keeping pace with Pierce throughout most of the way. I believe Pierce was going to win if he hadn't had that flat tire, but still, nonetheless, Larson was right there. And then Larson was able to pick up the win. It was his first ever win, the Wild West Shootout, so that was kind of cool to be a part of. If that's any indication of where Larson's going to be, he's always going to be competitive in NASCAR. He's always going to be competitive in a sprint car. And now he's won a late model race again. He's won several throughout his career. So we'll have to see what that's going to lead to. What's 2024 going to look like for Kyle Larson? I would think he'd go into the NASCAR season as certainly one of the favorites to make it to the Final Four and perhaps have a shot at winning a second championship. But with the high limit sprint car series, you know he's going to be right there in sprint car races with that great team that he's with. I don't know how many more late model opportunities he's going to have, but you think anytime that he's out there, he's going to be a factor. You can never count him out. So always interesting to have him. What's going to be interesting now is when we get to the races down in Georgia and Florida, and Speed Week's coming up, and you're going to have full fields. You're going to have Davenport. You're going to have Shepard. You're going to have Thornton, Overton. You're going to have all those kind of guys joining in with Pierce and all the others. So it's really going to see, has the field caught up to Pierce, which, like I said, it doesn't look like it, but if the field is caught up to Pierce, it ought to be highly competitive. Thornton, is Thornton going to be able to maintain what he did last year? That's going to be a question we're going to look into as well. But over the past week, like I said, you can't beat it. Here, I'm standing here in the snow coming down in Tennessee, but I was able all last week to watch the Chili Bowl Nationals and the Wild West Shootout. Chili Bowl the feature didn't turn out quite as well as everybody would have hoped, kind of one-laned on the track there. But, you just can't beat that. When you just turn on a race on pretty much any day of the week and see racing out there. And the midget cars are very entertaining, especially on that track as well. So, anyway, that just some thoughts that I had following up here on this Martin Luther King Day on Monday, following up the weekend that we just had there. But I hope you'll continue to check out motorsportsreport.net. And this is Richard Allen. I will see you at the track.